Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to Ramacrow. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from an anonymous caller. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Hi, this is anonymous. This issue hasn't really been discussed on the channels, and basically, how does one cope with their own anger when, after decades of people shunning you, friends and family and etc., and then they wake up and decide to pop into your life? How am I supposed to feel? I've grieved the loss so long ago, and now they think that everything is fine, like they have no responsibility to how they've treated me, and they have treated me really badly, and even with vile contempt. And I'm supposed to just shut off everything that I've accumulated through the decades, and they knock on your door and you're supposed to just welcome them like nothing's happened. I mean, they don't even say sorry. It's like 1 minute they're a robot for Watchtower, next minute they think they're self-righteously woken up, so now they've got the right to come into your life. I just don't get it, and I really don't know how to really feel. I'm just at a loss. Thank you.
Thank you for that message. That's a really interesting one. We don't talk about that too much, do we? Or I haven't touched on it too much on this channel. What you're describing are feelings of resentment towards fellow ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who used to shun you and now no longer do, and who have come back into your life without any kind of apology for shunning you and for, as you put it, treating you with, I think, vile contempt. Because it's one thing to shun someone, it's another thing to really put the boot in, I guess, and gossip about you, look at you scornfully. There are ways that you can go above and beyond, I guess. I think that's what you're describing, or at least alluding to. It's a tricky one, and everyone's going to have their own opinion on this, but here's my opinion, since you're calling in with your voicemail, and I don't expect everyone to share this view. This is just my own personal opinion. I think it's important to remember that Jehovah's Witnesses aren't in full control of their own behavior. They are having their behavior, their personality dictated to them by an organization. And it's the organization that's responsible for the abominable playground behavior of shunning, where you effectively say to someone, I'm going to treat you as though you're dead if you don't share my religious views. That thinking, that behavior comes from the organization. So for me personally, I try to separate the person from the organization. And I think that's a really, really important skill to be able to master. To say, well, okay, you did this terrible thing, but you did it because you thought you were helping me, or you thought this was the right thing to do because you were being lied to and you were being tricked and deceived. I think it's important to the extent possible to extend a bit of benefit of the doubt, a bit of understanding on that score. Having said that, I can remember when I was kind of reconciled or reunited with someone, and it hasn't happened much. I can remember reaching out to someone who I had previously shunned. He was actually a friend of mine who was gay, and he was disfellowshipped for being gay, and I shunned him because he was disfellowshipped for being gay. And we're not in regular contact now, but for the brief while that we were in touch, because people grow apart and it's fine. I don't expect every relationship I ever have to last forever. But for the brief period in which we were communicating, I felt it appropriate to apologize. Because I thought, irrespective of the fact that I was being controlled and my behavior was being manipulated, I feel bad about the fact that I shunned this person and I pretended that they didn't exist just because of who they are as a person and who they choose to love. That makes me feel bad, so I'm going to apologize. And so I apologized. And if I were to encounter more such people, again, there haven't been that many who I've reconnected with. In fact, probably only a dozen or so individuals who I know now and who I'm on speaking terms with actually knew me when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's a depressingly small number of people. But if I were to reconcile or meet up with someone, let's say they become an ex-Jehovah's Witness too, who knew me when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I had at any point shunned them and could remember it, as I could in this instance, I would definitely apologize, because that's just how I view things. That's how I do things. But I don't know, are we going to start laying down rules? It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I do definitely sympathize with you, though. And I can understand why it would hurt you if individuals who treated you as though you didn't exist and who perhaps went above and beyond just popped back into your life and didn't even say anything about the fact that they had previously been shunning you. I can understand. I can totally understand why that would anger you and infuriate you. So maybe it is like a case of basic etiquette, ex-JW etiquette, that we need to be wary of this. Maybe we do need to at least think about apologizing if we connect with someone who we knew when we were a Jehovah's Witness and who we shunned. It doesn't cost anything, does it? Even to just say, look, you know why I was doing it, but that doesn't make it right. I'm really sorry I shunned you. Please forgive me. It doesn't cost anything to say that, does it? So I sympathize with your predicament. I do think that if you are dealing with or struggling to deal with feelings of anger of any kind connected with the traumatic experience that you went through with Jehovah's Witnesses, you ought to consider reaching out to a mental health professional, because the fact that, and this is not to suggest in any way, shape or form that your feelings are in any way wrong or invalid, but the fact that it's still so raw for you, it sounds raw in your voice, if you don't mind me saying, would suggest to me that perhaps you're struggling to process what occurred and what happened. And I'm just a YouTuber, so it's always going to be better if you get professional counselling and professional therapy, rather than me simply saying I understand, which I do. But I'm really glad that you called in with this voicemail, because again, it's not something I've really dealt with before, or very little. And it is something that perhaps ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, including myself, need to be wary of and mindful of. Yes, the shunning, yes, the terrible behaviour was the result of outside influence, was the result of us being lied to and manipulated, but it still damaged others, it still did harm, and it's still something that we can and should apologise for. So thank you again for that voicemail. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all I have time for. Thanks for watching.